Oh boy, look at that, eh? Back in here with another video topic that is definitely gonna get some of y'all upset, but it opens the door for a very interesting conversation or two, so I wanted to go out there and do it anyway. So, let's talk today about an article published on Bleacher Report from earlier this week. Last week, excuse me, yeah. This was on the 26th, published by Adam Gretz, and the article's title is this: Way too early free agent destinations for Rangers goalie Igor Shesterkin. Yeah, people might get upset at this video, but it makes things very interesting to talk about. So, let's go out there and dive into what Gretz writes about and expand on an idea that we had actually talked about yesterday as well. We made this video talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs potentially being an option for Igor Shesterkin that was talked about by Pierre LeBrun earlier in the week on, I believe it was TSN Overdrive, but now this article goes out there and proposes a whole bunch of other teams that could be the newest destination for Igor. Just in case you needed the update here, because some of y'all might not have seen yesterday's video, Igor Shesterkin is 28 years old. He has signed on till the end of this upcoming season, making $5.6 million a year. And that's really cheap. Incredibly cheap for a guy who had a .913 save percentage this year, which is okay, and a .927 save percentage in the playoffs. He had a .935 save percentage with the Rangers in 21-22. He is the best goaltender on the planet, and he is only making $5.6 mil. He's gonna get a lot of money, and rightfully so. Whatever dollar amount he asks for, whatever dollar amount he gets, he is going to be worth it. There is no way any Igor Shesterkin contract will be seen as an overpayment. Unless, of course, maybe he gets like 15 million, which in that case, I mean, you could make the argument, but okay, let's not make the argument here in this video. Let's talk about which teams might actually be involved in a free agency war if Igor Shesterkin were to find himself on the market on July 1st, 2025. This could be a bidding war situation, who really knows? Now, full disclosure, this article will be linked in the description. Gretz goes out there and talks about 6 teams that could be destinations for Igor, and the first one he writes about is the New York Rangers. So, yeah, that's probably the most likely outcome here. Igor to New York, book it. He re-signs, great, everybody's happy. But there were 2 other teams here that I thought were interesting enough to make videos about. Firstly is the second team written about on this list. Gretz has the Philadelphia Flyers as a potential Igor Shesterkin destination. The Flyers' decades-long search for a franchise goalie rolls on. By next season, they should be at a stage of their rebuild where they're looking to compete for a playoff spot and seriously contend. What better way to do that than signing a franchise goalie that could finally secure the position? As an added bonus, signing Shesterkin would significantly weaken a division rival and Eastern Conference contender. The Flyers have some intriguing young goaltending prospects, but nobody can project young goaltending with any certainty. If you have a chance to add one of the few consistently proven goalies in the NHL, it's an easy call. Or at least, it should be. Now, the Flyers have their own Russian goaltending situation that is quite interesting to pay attention to. We had already made a few videos talking about Alexei Kolosov and the trade situation that could be there and him wanting out, but then he's reporting to camp and everything else. That's an entire other thing. But Igor Shesterkin is magnitudes above what Kolosov is capable of, which is not surprising, but it is true. And you gotta remember for Philadelphia, they were really close to making the playoffs this most previous year. Them and the team that we're going to be talking about after Philly, they both were really close. Only for Washington to go out there and steal that final wildcard spot. Had the Flyers just had a guy like Igor Shesterkin in net, maybe they get an extra 2, 3, 4 wins on the year, maybe that's an extra 4, 6, 8 points on the year, and maybe that's a playoff berth. Who really knows? Also, I like that the article puts an emphasis on the idea of the Flyers weakening New York by taking away their #1 goaltender. But of course, you're going to have to talk about money. You're going to have to talk about whether or not it would fit. The Philadelphia Flyers, at the time of recording this audio, have themselves a pretty reasonable $3.1 million available in salary cap space. And next year, that number is looking to be even higher, considering they do have some guys that are on expiring contracts. Cal Peterson is a buried deal. He's making $3.8 million. There are a few other guys. Tony DeAngelo's buyout gets off the books too, so that's an extra $1.6. Ultimately, if the Flyers move some guys around, they would maybe have enough money to throw whatever dollar amount they would need in order to get an Igor Shesterkin-like asset. Let some of these guys go and then trade away somebody else, and you're golden. Really. Imagine having Shesterkin, Fedotov, and Kolosov all on your team. It's a Russian reunion here for guys in the net. Now, the thing is, this other team that we're going to talk about also featured quite a few Russian players in its heyday, maybe not so much anymore. The next team that is written about by Adam Gretz is the Detroit Red Wings. They could be a potential destination here for Igor. The only thing holding Detroit back at this stage of their rebuild is the ability to prevent goals. That's admittedly a pretty huge problem, one caused by bad defensive zone play and consistently subpar goaltending. When it comes to the defense, there is at least some hope on the horizon when Moritz Seider locked in on a long-term deal and top prospect Simon Edvinsson ready to take on a bigger, full-time role this season. But they still need goaltending. Over the past 3 seasons, their cumulative save percentage of .891 is 27th in the NHL, and the only goalie they have signed beyond this season is Cam Talbot. The Red Wings will almost certainly be in the market for a goalie this offseason no matter what. If Shesterkin goes on the open market, they should be one of the first teams calling, especially if they miss the playoffs again and get even more desperate to get to the postseason. Now, when you think about it like that, okay, I think a lot of Wings fans are attached in some ways to Alex Lyon and the progression that he had exhibited with the Detroit Red Wings from last season. I don't think that's all too surprising to say. Ville Husso, I think a lot of Wings fans still want to give him a chance, especially since he's so expensive, but he's not really the best. And then Cam Talbot, of course, the only guy signed on beyond this upcoming season, is on the Red Wings payroll until 2026. The thing is, if you wanted to try to take a stab at what could be in store, if you had assumed the Red Wings let Husso and they let Lyon go, which I don't want to say is guaranteed, but let's say they do it, if you sign Igor Shesterkin and you have Cam Talbot as your backup, that is one of the better tandems in the NHL, I would feel, considering the fact that Cam Talbot is still pretty good despite being in his late 30s. It would almost seem kind of poetic in a way, having Talbot and Shesterkin as the 1-2, or the other way around, in Detroit, considering Cam Talbot was a pretty notable New York Ranger back in 2013 to 2015. I don't know, man, something about that pairing is just so interesting to me, and it's one of these ideas that I definitely don't want to discredit. But when you consider the Wings and their defense, yeah, it's not great. Seider is good. Edvinsson, supposed to be good, but everybody else is kinda, Ben Sherratt, Olli Maatta, Jeff Petrie, sure, these guys have their moments, but who knows how good they're going to be in supporting their goaltender this year. Not to mention that they just got rid of Jake Wallman, they paid the Sharks to take him on, still kind of questionable that move in my opinion, and ultimately the Wings could probably gain from a huge upgrade in net. If Shesterkin is the guy in that position, if the Wings are able to free up enough money, do you think this would be a positive idea to explore? I certainly think so, for the same reasons we had talked about with the Flyers. The Flyers were so close to the playoffs this previous year, a good goaltender would have helped them get over that hump. Same thing for Detroit, but of course, that's just my thoughts. You can go out there and let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Article is also linked in the description if you wanted to read what Gretz had to write about the other 3 teams. 3 teams, right? Yeah, because we had talked about Detroit and Philadelphia, and then the New York Rangers are also included there. There are 6 teams in total, so yes, 3 other teams. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you're a New York Rangers fan. How do you feel seeing all these articles and videos on YouTube and stuff being written about your top goaltender and how he could be a free agent bidding target for some of these other teams around the NHL? What are your thoughts on a potential bidding war that could ensue for a guy like Igor? And what do you think the max dollar amount is that he could get on the open market? I'm saying maybe something in the $13 million range because he'd be a free agent. If he's already signed to a team that has his rights and they're negotiating from there, I could probably see it being maybe 12, 12.2, 12.5. But if he's a free agent, oh yeah, that guy could maybe even get 13 if he's really lucky. So if you're a fan of the Red Wings, the Flyers, or the Rangers, what are your thoughts on Igor Shesterkin and the potential of his future? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.